Me, Julie Cameron, a business growth specialist with Action Coach Solihull. So, where are you joining me this lovely lunchtime? For those that are on Facebook or LinkedIn, say hi in the chat boxes below. Give me a wave, drop where you are, whether you're ready for Christmas or not. Just tell me that you're out there and that you are with me listening to today's golden nugget of business education. So what are we talking about today? Well, today we are talking all about advertising and public relations. So advertising and PR, and using it as a lead generation tool. So as we says on the screen, advertising can be very powerful. And by that, online and offline. I think in this day and age, in this digital world, we often forget about the offline advertising and what a massive impact that potentially can have on our business. So we need to look at both. And when you're looking at strategies for your business, think about both online and offline. But as we said, the challenge can be that people can see it's risky, and it can be. So that means that where advertising and PR are concerned, it's really, really, really important to test and measure whatever strategies that we're doing. So what do I mean by testing and measuring? Well, for example, you're putting an advert out there, by asking people when they contact you, how did they hear about you? You are testing and measuring whether that advert is working. So, whether that's a click-through rate, whether that's, a coupon code, whether it's, testing and measuring, because that definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you've got an advert out there, but you're not getting any business from it, then why aren't you getting any business from it? Is it the wording? Is it where it's positioned in the magazine? Is it where, is it that the typeface, or is it just that you're in the wrong publication? So these are all those questions that you need to be asking yourself as a business owner. So testing and measuring is so important, because advertising and PR, it's an investment. And as we've talked about on previous Lunch and Learns, it's kind of, you're investing your time, you're investing your money into something that you're hoping to generate leads from and customers and lifetime customers. So if you're spending money, how many people do you need to come back to you and purchase from you to get your return on your investment? And remember, it could be the lifetime value of that customer. So they may only be spending £50 at the moment, but actually if they're spending £50 over their lifetime, which is 10, 15 years, then actually that amount makes that investment worthwhile. If you're looking for more information on that, check out one of my other Lunch and Learns that was on is on our YouTube channel, regarding being a marketing genius, and it's about that investment of into advertising, into marketing, and how we should look at it from a different perspective. But enough about that. Let's carry on with today. And today is all about that advertising and PR as a lead generation strategy for our business. So the first thing that we need to look at is web advertising and Google adverts. Now, I am no specialist about web advertising and Google advertising. I am no specialist at all. So therefore, it's maybe one of those moments that you need to go and seek out the advice of a specialist out there. There are many, many people out there that have more of a specialist view on Google ads, on, Facebook ads, on Instagram ads, on LinkedIn ads. But actually getting that specialist knowledge is key when it comes to that investment, because you want to make sure that you are, targeting the right, targeting your niche, getting the best return on investment that you can do. And they're the ones to go to. However, what you need to look at it from a generalist perspective is remember that people are on there for a short period of time. So people are on the web, on the internet for a short period of time. We're forever scrolling, we're forever clicking onto other adverts, onto other pages, and so on and so forth. So therefore, the colour, the image, the headline of our advertisement needs to be key. Okay, it needs to be key. It needs to grab people's attention. So what is it that grabs your attention when you're looking through the internet? What adverts do you pause over? What kind of and just think that if they're grabbing your attention, then how can you make sure that yours are grabbing other people's attention? Okay, and I think it's only a number of seconds that we have that kind of that that thought process of actually we want to tick through. So remember, people are on there for a short period of time. You know, the color needs to be key, the image needs to be key, and the headline needs to be key. And one of the beauties of like Facebook advertising, for example, is that you can set up like 10 different, for maybe a bit extreme, but 10 different headline adverts. Okay, you can put that out there on Facebook for 24 hours, and you will be instantly be able to see which ones are working the best. Okay, because you'll be able to see the click-through rate, you'll be able to see how many people have paused, how many people have paused on your advert, etc. So therefore, after 24 hours, you can see which ones that work. And this could be by using a different image, it could be a different headline, it could be whatever, but testing and measuring. You find the one that works and then get rid of the others. It costs minimal amount of money, but actually it gives you so much information within a short period of time. And we never used to be able to do that with the likes of, say, newspapers or magazine adverts. There are a place for that. But just think, this is a really quick way of testing and marketing which one actually works the best. So the key things to remember when web advertising or Facebook advertising is the image. Image is key. What is the image saying about your product or service? What does it show? We are very, for those visual people out there, I'm a very visual person. So does the image reflect through exactly what you're wanting to portray? Okay. Another thing to remember is the click-through rate. So how many people are actually clicking through to your website? How many people are clicking through to your newsletter? How many people are just clicking through from that advert? Okay. And we need to monitor that, and we need to test and measure, because if people aren't, then why aren't they? Okay. We need to make sure that the advertising on Facebook or wherever is actually to your target. Who is your niche? Who is your target market? And make sure that that advert is targeting that market. Okay. And it's one to scale slow. So in other words, don't go out there and spend thousands on it straight away. Start small and build up. Testing and measuring different aspects, like I said about the headline, test 10, test 5. Does it work? One works, brilliant. Now test the same headline but with different images. Which one works? That one. Okay, so I've got the headline, I've got the image right. Now let's look at the offer, the text. Okay, they do 10 different ones. Which one is the one that keeps on motivating people, etc., to click through? That one, well, let's use that one. And all of a sudden, within a few days, you have the potential of a really strong advertisement going out on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, etc. But what you have to remember, especially with the Facebook advertising and other advertising, is that the algorithm does change. So I'm just very much a generalist, and I do advise you all to kind of reach out to specialists in that area. And if anybody is a specialist out there and you're listening to this, then please do pop your details in the chat, because I know that people are interested in this form of a lead generation strategy. But there are many ways for offline advertising. And I think in this digital age, we often forget about it, and especially during the last 18 months, 2 years, where COVID's been concerned, we haven't had that much mail come through the letterbox. We haven't had that kind of option for, people were scared to get posts right at the beginning of the pandemic. We weren't interested in it anymore. However, that's changing. And just think about directories. Directories are things that come through the door. We have a local one. It's brilliant, but people within that are paying to advertise in the directory. Okay. And it can be quite industry specific. So again, thinking about who you're targeting, who you're trying to target, so therefore paying, how many customers will you get from that? It's all about that return on investment. Trade journals, okay. Advertising in trade journals is amazing. People will be going there to actually find you. They're looking for plumbers. They're going to the trade journal. They're finding plumbers. They're looking for a coach. They go to the coach directory. People are very specifically looking for you, and they're going there to find you. But positioning within that journal is so important. And the reason that I say that is, I want you all to think, if you have a journal and you're looking for a trade, you don't know any of them, but you start looking through, how many pages do you actually look through? Okay, do you just go through the first two? It's like having Google, but in a physical form. So actually, how many of us on Google go through to page 2, 3, 4, or 5? Well, not many of us. So actually, it's the same within a directory or trade journal. What page do we go to? Just going to leave that out there. Next one is signage, a great offline advertising. So if you have a shop or a premises, do you have a signage? Okay. Do you have signage out there? Do people know that you are there? Okay. And should it just be your name? You know, should it be your name or should it be something else? Should it be, you know, your strap line? Should it be, you know, what is it that you're trying to tell people? You know, it could just be for example, you know, my surname's Cameron. So if I just have Cameron's blazoned across the front of my shop, actually it's not telling people what I'm actually doing. Okay. So making sure that your signage is key and your signage is telling people exactly what you do and who you are is absolutely paramount. You know, because those people are driving by, they're walking by, they're you know, for example, there's a shop that's just opened down the road from me from home, and it's about it's called Baked Brownies. Okay, well, I know exactly what it does on the tin because it bakes and it brownies. You know, so if your name doesn't represent what you actually do, then you need to be telling people what you're actually doing, because it's a great advertisement. Billboards, it serves as a prompt. A billboard is great. I was driving into Birmingham the other day and they had the electronic billboards outside coming along the motorway, and one caught my eye because there was a picture of a lady that I know from a networking event, and it was about estate agents, and I was just like, wow, she's on a billboard. But billboards are great for event reminders or a reminder to do something. So for example, when it's forthcoming to the election or things like that, people often put a reminder on billboards: have you registered to vote? Have you you know, or there's a Christmas event at NEC in Birmingham, you know, have you got your tickets? It's great for event reminders and so on and so forth. But they are great to serve as a reminder. They're very big, they're in your face, you know, they're out there. But again, are people actually coming directly to you if you're on a billboard? And those are the things that you need to test and measure. Another one is a newsletter. Now, if you're advertising, what newsletters are out there? You know, a newsletter that's out there, you know, it could be a school newsletter, it could be a club newsletter, the village newsletter. I live in a small village and we have a village newsletter. And, you know, can you advertising there? Can you do a sponsorship in there? You know, and it can be a really cheap way to get your message across. So if you're, for example, in our village, there is a financial advisor, and they often put a thing in the newsletter. It can be some form of education and then contact me. So therefore you're trying to, you know, increase your credibility and letting people know who you are. But equally, taking out an advert in that, it goes round to a mass audience. And as long as that audience is specific for you, then it's a great way to cheaply advertise within your local area. Newspaper. Now, how many people out there have a newspaper or read a newspaper? You know, and by that I mean the actual physical newspaper even. You know, and if you have to think about, you know, whether, for example, my dad loves a paper. You know, is it your target audience is getting older? And that's, you know, just by saying, you know, my husband reads a newspaper, but he reads it online. So actually you're getting some of the adverts, but you're not getting as many. So actually, if your audience is that older generation or an older market, you know, then a newspaper can be a really good way of advertising. But it's all about consistency, and consistency is key. A small advert every day is better than a big advert every month, every 6 months even. And the reason by doing that is because if you're turning the page and you're constantly seeing that advert, your brain is starting to process it. Whereas if you're just seeing it once every 6 months, and it's just once every 6 months. You forget about it, you know. So I want you to think about the last time that you read a newspaper or saw an advert, and if it's there every day, what does that tell you? Consistency. Oh yeah, I need to contact them. Brilliant. Okay, so that's when we look at newspaper for advertising. Another one is a magazine, you know, and another is it's a great one. You know, people are interested in the subject of the magazine. So, for example, if you're a cake maker or you have a kind of a passion for baking, a passion for food, people are going to buy. You are going to buy the magazine that kind of helps with your passion, and you have your interest. So we're looking at specialist magazines. So therefore, if you're selling baking products, then it's a great way to actually great place actually to advertise in. But magazine advertising can be really expensive. And so therefore, you know, for a new startup, for a small business, it's really key to start small. Because I want you all to think about, you know, how many pages do you actually read in the magazine, or do you flick through? You know, we used to have magazines in hairdressers, didn't we? And I know a lot of that has stopped because of COVID, but you have to think, you know, how many pages did we flick through? Well, did we flick through the whole magazine? Did we not? You know, and just think that if you're investing in an advertisement in that magazine, then, you know, what page do you want to go on? Well, you need to be at the front of the magazine rather than at the back, because people don't necessarily go to the back, do they? You know, so think about your audience, think about the cost, think about the reach, and think about the return on investment. Okay, and by reach, how many magazines of this publication get purchased? You know, these are the questions that you need to ask. Your return on your investment. Yes, it may cost you a few £1,000s to advertise in that magazine, but actually, potentially, how many customers could you get from it? And how many customers does it take to get that return on investment? Whether that's a one-off return on investment or whether it's looking at the lifetime value of those customers that are bringing to your business. And again, like I said earlier, go back and look at my previous webinar on marketing and how to become a marketing kind of guru genius. And we look at that return on investment and whether it's a lifetime value or whether it's a one-off value. So think about those, you know, so therefore, is magazines the best place to advertise? Radio, you know, and you have to think, you know, how many people out there listen to one radio station? And like I've put on the screen, you know, people rarely jump from station to station. So therefore, you've got consistent audience, you know. And what we find with radio is that it's good for reminders and good for instant purchases, one-offs, okay? But actually, you know, we don't listen to the radio potentially for a long period of time unless you're in the car or in the kitchen kind of scenario. Do we have the radio on all day? So therefore, looking at when the audience is peaking and making sure that we have an advertisement at that time, you know, is key. Pointless having an advert at 3 a.m. if you've only got a reach of 100 to 200 people, you know, comparing to 10 a.m. where there's a massive one. And it's the same goes with TV, really, you know. And I know there'll be people out there going, I'll never be able to afford TV advertising. Well, TV advertising breeds trust, you know, and a lot of people think that if you're big enough to advertise on TV, then you're in a big business. Okay. And you can really niche it down with TV advertising. So target a specific audience depending on the program that they watch. So, for example, you know, during the Great British Bake Off, for example, you know, advertising baking products within the program itself is key because the people that are watching the program would be interested in that kind of thing. Okay. But it is a numbers game. And I've put that on there because TV advertising is expensive and it can be really expensive, but therefore so can the return on investment can also be massive. Public relations. Public relations is all about articles, blogs, awards, and interviews. Okay, so my challenge out there to you guys today is, you know, how many of you have actually written an article? How many of you have actually written a blog? Okay, how many of you have then promoted it on your own social media. Because this is all about promoting yourselves, promoting your company, promoting your credibility, your knowledge, your expertise. And by doing blogs and doing articles, you're gaining a following of people that may be interested in purchasing from you. Awards, credibility. Having an award, if you were to go looking at two companies and one has a business award, the other one doesn't have a business award, and they're identical, would you then go to the one that's had the best product award? Would you go to the one that has had that recognition, that has had amongst their peers? Would you probably go to them? Well, probably yes, because it does subconsciously have that attraction, and it goes towards that know, like, and trust element of it. Now, a lot of us out there, and it is the British way of doing things, we can't nominate ourselves for awards. Well, of course we can. Of course we can. We can nominate ourselves for awards. We can put ourselves forward. Go for it. Or ask somebody else to do that for you. But it comes down to the crux of, why not? I'm more than happy to help people where it comes to awards. So please, if you're interested in applying for awards, then please do drop a note in the chat boxes below. And again, I'll reach out to them. And the last one is interviews, public relations. It's all about the person, webinars, podcasts. I'm doing a webinar here. So you're getting to know me as a person, you're getting to know our knowledge, our kind of expertise, our passion for business, and that comes across within the webinar. So are you guys doing webinars out there? Are you doing podcasts? Are you interviewing people? Are they interviewing you? Are you known as a speaker in your own right? Okay, public relations is all about you and about your relationship with that public, and it goes back down to that relationship marketing, which we talked about last time. Let people have relationships with you in the respect of on screen or through articles or through awards, and by doing then having those relationships, you're building that potential for leads to come through into your business. But as I've said on here, it is all about that test and measure. It's all about testing and measuring your strategy to make sure that it's working for you. So again, that definition of insanity, and I love it, it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, we can't do that. You need to be looking at what's working and what's not. And by asking people how they've heard from you, asking and looking at the return on investment that you're getting from advertising, whether that's online, offline, or even public relations, that's when we can really home in on the strategies that are working for your business. So there we go. That's all for me from today. My name, as I've said before, is Julie Cameron. I am a business growth specialist with Action Coach Solihull, and I look forward to joining you for the rest of the week doing golden nuggets of business education. Thank you.